and welcome to the Fromer Travel Show. I'm your host, Pauline Fromer. I've often heard that in order to have a happy life, you have to find your passion, you have to find what you love, and then create a career around it. I think my next guest has been more successful at that than anyone I know. Her name is Andrea Sachs. She is a wonderful writer. She's a reporter for the Washington Post. Andrea, welcome back to the Fromer Travel Show.
Thank you. I thought you were gonna say happy wife, and I was like, "Okay, I'll be a
Oh,
happy
not
wife."
no, not happy
No,
wife,
I
happy
like
life.
your new
But
your
you,
philosophy.
since I know you a bit offline, I know that you have two passions. You love travel, but you also love animals. And a lot of your stories allow you to have these incredible adventures with animals. And I'm hearing an animal kind of shuffling
Yes,
something around in the background.
this animal just found this bone that we're now gonna put on the kitchen table.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
So,
That's what I love
you
about animals, the unpredictability.
yes, yes.
They're cute.
So you recently went to Switzerland, and of course, that meant visiting with Saint Bernard dogs, but you did not hike up and fall into a crevice and need to be rescued by one, right? That no longer goes on. Tell us a little bit about the history of Saint Bernards in Switzerland, and then now how you can commune with them there.
Yes, in the 1700s, I would have met a Saint Bernard, but probably not as a great experience as I had a couple of weeks ago. So back in the say 1700s, the only way to get across this pass, and it was a popular pilgrimage route going from Canterbury, England, all the way up to Rome.
Mm.
Um, and so they would take the pilgrims would follow this route, and then they would hit Switzerland, Italy area, and there would be avalanches and blizzards and all sorts of inclement weather. And the St. Bernards would come to their rescue. So the monks that lived at this hospice, at this monastery, and this refuge for travelers would send the dogs out to sniff them out, and then they would rescue them. The barrel of whiskey, that's like a little a little fiction. It makes them look
Oh,
cute. We know
that
was
wasn't around their
that
necks.
was not, no. In the museum, I learned in this fact or fiction area that that was fiction, but every dog you see in terms of stuffed animal and art image, they always have the barrel of whiskey on their necks.
Right, and so were the dogs bred for this type of rescue work? Is that why they're so massive?
Yes. So they start off as farm dogs, and then in the, say, 1700s, there was a breeder who then decided to just create all of the traits that mean this is like the highest order, almost like what we have the Westminster Dog Show. So this is the ideal traits of a Saint Bernard. And it was the jowls, and it was the size, and it was the compassion and the kindness and the good
Hmm.
snout and all those things. And so that just became the Saint Bernard, which became obviously the ambassador of Switzerland, and it became the national dog of Switzerland.
Wow, and when did Saint Bernard stop saving people? When did that program end?
Well, they built a tunnel, and so people started to drive instead of walking the
Right.
arduous route, and then also they started to bring in helicopters, and a Saint Bernard and a helicopter, not a good mix. So
Mhm.
they're using lighter dogs for the helicopter rescue operations. So in about, like 1984 or so, I think that was the last Saint Bernard that helped with search and rescue.
Huh, but the Saint Bernards are so popular and so much a symbol of Switzerland that they couldn't get rid of them altogether, so what was the tourist attraction that they set up?
So there was an organization, so the Saint Bernards that originated from the same pack from the 1700s, they've been living up at the top of the Alps in Grand St. Bernard Pass, appropriately enough, and so which was named after St. Bernard, who did a lot for travelers and rescued
Hmm.
them. And this foundation came in and they just worried about the legacy of the animals, and they wanted to make sure the breed was intact and that they had a long, fruitful life. And so it's called the Barry Foundation. Barry is a St. Bernard from the 1800s who apparently did 40 rescues. You
Hmm.
can visit Barry and Bern in the Natural History Museum because his taxidermied body is hanging out there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I really love Barry. Like, there are Barry 1, Barry 2, Barry 3, but there really is only 1 Barry.
Hmm.
And so the foundation came in and I don't know if they bought bought the dogs, but they basically took over the care of the dogs, the kennels, and just the whole breeding program. And so with that, they opened up a museum about 25 miles down the pass in the town of Martigny, and they call it a theme park. It has real St. Bernards there and a lot in addition to a lot of exhibits. And then you can go up the pass, and that's where you can see them in the kennels during the summer, and you can sign up for a hike.
But the
That's
hikes are very popular, right? How early do you have to sign up for a hike to actually get to hike with these dogs?
They put them online in May. They're only for 2 months that they have them, 5 days a
Mm.
week, and people are getting up like their Rolling Stone tickets. I might have or Taylor Swift or whomever.
Sure,
They
yeah.
get up at, like, 2 in the morning having to adjust for Swiss time to get and they still are not getting the dates that they want. So people are pouncing on these walks.
So they're
There's
they're sold out probably the week they go on sale.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
and they're private, so they allow 8 people, and so being me, I'm like, "Oh, I'm 1 person, can you, like, squeeze me in, and I'll pay for, like, 3 people," but they're private, so it's a party of up to 8, but it's
Mhm.
only people you know, so
Oh, interesting.
mhm,
Huh, so you got to do a shorter kind of gamble in
I
on a walking path with the dogs.
I did.
But how was that?
It was wonderful, they are so adorable, they're massive, I mean, they weigh up to 180 pounds, and but they don't pull. They're almost philosophical, like, they just sit on a stone and, like, look out into the distance, probably listening to their ancestors or something. The ancestors saying, "God, you have an
Wow.
easy life, don't you?" So, they're just so delightful, and they're very protective, so they're not like, you can't run up and cuddle them, but they wanna be cuddled. I mean, we had a lot of breaks where they would just want a belly rub. So,
Aw.
we didn't make as much of a like, distance-wise as I thought we were because we had to do a lot of kibble snacks and belly rubs.
Oh, that's funny, and
Yeah.
even if you don't get to, hike with the dogs,
Yeah.
you do get to see them put through their paces and also, this was fascinating, put through therapy.
Yeah.
So, what do you go to this museum, theme park,
Theme park.
and you see the dogs behind glass with their trainers, and what do you see them doing?
Well, you see them napping a lot because they sleep, like, 18 hours a day and they sun, but they do, they'll have at least, oh gosh, like 6 or so throughout the day demonstrations. So one will just be the upkeep of the breed. They talk about the breed and the history, and then everything from brushing them to brushing their teeth to clipping
With
their nails to their
chicken-flavored
diet.
toothpaste, I thought that was hilarious.
Mhm.
To
Like, cold
cutting where they get, I guess, tangled up, and then you also see them doing water therapy, right? Why do they have to do that?
their joints. So because they're such a big breed, and so they have a lot of issues with hip dysplasia and a lot of joint and arthritis, and so they're trying to get them in early and get them, like, moving their muscles and relieving that extra weight that's on their backside, so they
Uh-huh.
just put them in hydrotherapy, and it has resistance, and then they up the speed, but it looks like a giant aquarium with dogs, like, just to see its little legs, like, walking, but not really doing a doggy paddle, it's so adorable, and they're so well trained, and they're so docile, like, you never see it roaring up
Mhm.
like a shark, it's just like, "Oh, this is my daily walk through the water." So it's
Wow,
very
wow.
charming, but they
Yeah,
explain everything to you in French, which but most of them or a lot of them speak English and will translate for you.
and what I loved was after you watch them being put through their paces, they do bring them out so you can, with permission, cuddle the dogs because that's why everybody's there, I think.
It really is. They have the glass enclosure, and then they open it, and then this big head pops out, and then the body, and they tell you how to pet, don't come at it, and then just one by one, we all have, like, a couple seconds with the Saint Bernard, and I think the Saint Bernard loves it. I mean, they just love people.
Hmm. Yeah, it sounded great. So that was one adorable article you wrote, and I gotta say, I always read the, comments on your articles,
Oh,
because
fun.
that's often as interesting to see how people take this, and people said, "This article brightened my day," "Thank goodness there's some good news in the world," and I felt that too reading this
Oh, thank
piece.
you. No, I was
Yeah.
so excited to hear about this. Originally, and I think we're going to talk about this too, I took the overnight bus from Barcelona to Bern, and then my first thought was Bernese mountain dogs. I'm like, "Well, there must be something Bernese in Bern." Nothing. There's, like,
Huh.
one dog store that has, like, a couple Bernese, tote bags. So that's how I ended up getting to the St. Bernards because the Bernese do not have good publicists. St. Bernards do. And so I ended up going 2 hours to another town and hanging out with the
Wow.
St. Bernards. So to the Bernese people, you
Get your
have
act together.
definitely, you have a great a great opportunity for tourism.
Yeah. So let's talk about the bus trip you took.
Okay.
Is it called the Twiliner? So like
Yeah,
Twilight, but it's
it's
a
fine.
liner.
Yeah.
And it's a very green way to travel, right? Tell us about, first of all, why it's so ecologically friendly.
Well, it's a bus, and as you know, Europe, I feel like, is much more thoughtful and ahead of the curve in terms of taking trains instead of flying on short distances and the overnight train and things of this sort. So these, again, Swiss entrepreneurs and designers thought, well, let's do an overnight bus, but let's make it with upscale overnight accommodations, even better than what you would get on the train, because
Mm.
sometimes you'll get, I know when I last did this, there were like 8 of us in one cabin, like or there were 6, like stacked all like
Right.
pancakes. And so this is lie flat seats like you would find in first or business class in an airplane, but it's a bus. And so it's going 12 hours or so, which is a lot more ecologically less carbon.
Is emitted per person on a
Yes.
bus than a plane. Yeah, absolutely. But there
Yes.
are different safety issues with a bus. And I thought this was really fascinating. You have to be put in kind of this restraining sack. Which kind of sounded like it made it hard to actually sleep. So, talk about what they give you when you get to the bus. How does that work?
Okay. Yeah, it was very creative. And there's a QR code so you can watch a video of it. The bus drivers, before you depart, will come up to your seat and show you how it works. You stare at the buttons. We boarded at 7:38 p.m. You have a couple hours to figure this out before you get really sleepy. So basically, you're sitting upright as you would, and then it becomes like a lazy boy seat. Like the back goes down, and then your feet go down. But they really, for safety reasons, they have this a sack, like a safety sack. To me, I don't it seemed like a fishing net, like
Huh.
I was a mermaid and I got caught. So I had to put my legs straight into this safety net. So I think it's the idea that if they hit something, you will not shoot out like a rocket
Huh.
into the
Wow.
that's what I'm ass and then you seatbelt yourself, but it's kind of around your legs.
So, is
Makes
the
sense
safety
there.
sorry, say that again?
It makes sense when you're doing it. When I
Okay.
describe it, it
Well,
sounds a little complicated.
is it attached to something so you don't rocket forward? Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
Oh,
Okay.
it's a really creative design. It
Mm.
really is, like, everything just folds in so nicely, and it's just kind of flows out, and there are instructions where you just, like, pull it out, you slip yourself in, you buckle in, you go to sleep. But if you're a side sleeper like I am, you're, like, struggling to, like, get on your side, and the material isn't cashmere, to put it nicely, and so it felt, again, like fishing net, and so I had to put my blanket I wrapped my the blanket around my legs and then, like, inserted myself into the security
Huh.
sack.
Yeah.
And then by then
Interesting.
it was 6 AM, so I'm like, "Well, I'm up, so I might as well just stay up." No, I'm kidding. I got a little sleep.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, and also, I mean, one of the reasons it can be hard to sleep in a hostel or in a train cabin is there's always a snorer who's near you. There's people who are rustling around and doing things. Was there enough privacy on this bus to sleep?
I got lucky because there were only 8 people on board and there were 21 seats, and so I had
Oh,
the entire back of the bus to myself or with the phot I traveled with a photographer and a friend, so we camped out. I think if it were packed 21, it would be hard because it's
huh.
2 together and then 1 little aisle and then 1. And if you're a light sleeper, you're sensitive to other people, I think that's just a lot of sleep
Right.
noise and rustling and things of
Mhm.
that sort.
Yeah.
But
But other than that, it looked very high end. There's a bathroom, there's a changing room that you can
yeah,
put, in your pajamas on. There's a whole snack area where you can get some things for free, some things you paid a little bit for. It seemed very civilized, and the price you said you paid 194 one way between Barcelona and Bern, I guess it was,
Mhm.
and that was half of what you would have paid for an airplane, a ticket, which surprised me. I guess prices are high right now.
Yeah, well, I think that route isn't that common, so I think if you have, like, a Paris
Oh,
to Rome or something like that, and all the flights that I looked at, you have to connect, so it took a while, so and there are other they go to Amsterdam and they go throughout, so maybe on a route that maybe, was a little more popular, it could have been cheaper, but when I priced it out, it was more expensive, and when you add in the hotel, obviously, so I got transportation and my hotel, and I didn't have to deal with security. There's no security. I didn't have to deal
right.
with getting to the airport. The Barcelona bus station was so centrally located. Bern station was centrally located. Most of the people were going onward to Zurich. There were only
Huh,
actually, I think it was only my little group that got off at Bern.
huh, interesting. So,
Yeah.
thumbs up, thumbs down, what was the
Yeah, I think
overall?
so. I think for one night, and then as I say in my story, as long as you have an early check-in at your hotel, because 'cause you're gonna want a nap and a real shower, then you're
Sure.
okay, and
Yeah.
because the water isn't potable, so, I had to use the water that I had that I brought to brush my teeth just to be safe, and
Right, right,
but no, I
right.
thought it was fun. I thought it was a fun adventure. The people on board were so interesting, and I enjoyed the camaraderie of it, but then they truly went to sleep. It was not a party bus. Everyone was very respectful of each other and just kinda kept quiet, so
Well, that's good.
I
It's
hope
so
they do well.
fascinating.
I think
My daughters did, a bus in Vietnam, a 12-hour overnight bus, and I think it was very much the same, concept, and they actually slept. But they can sleep through anything. I'm very jealous
yeah.
of them, but, when you're in your 20s. So we have adorable dogs, we have overnight bus, and then because I think your vertical is adorable travel, you also went to your 5th, 6th Dolly site, as in Dolly Parton. So tell us, what is the latest Dolly site that people can go to?
Well, I'd love to say latest, but she is just nonstop. She's opening up a hotel in Nashville
Oh, wow.
coming up, but I'm gonna just vote that's not open yet, and so Dolly, we've been hearing whispers about this, that she was going to take over this Tennessean travel stop, like a rest area for cars and truckers, and she knows the road. I mean, she was driving around for years in her
Oh,
tour
yeah.
bus. I don't think she was using trucker showers and drinking big gulps because she's Dolly, but she knows life on the road. So there's a man who owns this Tennessean travel stop in this little town in Cornersville, south of Nashville. And it was okay, he was doing okay, but he felt like it was missing the sparkle, and he found the sparkle with Dolly. So clearly
So
he's
they partnered?
they partnered with partner with Dolly. Yes. So
Yeah, okay.
they had a fire, he reopened, he was felt like he was missing something, and he reached out to Dolly's people, and Dolly said yes, and so now it has been Dollyfied. Like, it is very, very Dolly in the best
Right.
way possible.
I loved all the different touches, like, you go into the bathroom and there are pictures of Dolly primping, "We're all in this
Wow,
together."
right. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I felt so, like, inappropriate taking pictures in the bathroom, but everybody was doing it because they were
Right.
beautiful, like,
Huh,
pictures of her just having a quiet moment, looking beautiful.
right. And
Yeah.
what other Dolly touches were there?
They had this chandelier that was made of instruments that were covered in all of her sequined outfits.
Oh
So
my
she, like,
goodness.
bedazzled these instruments. So they made a whole chandelier, and then all of the decor was like that. It was musical instruments that were covered in some of her costumes and outfits, like, full of sequins. I mean, the gift shop was to die for. Like, they had so much stuff that was Dolly,
Right.
and they
Jolene hats, I love that.
yeah. They've, like, sequined travel mugs and all of her T-shirts, and the logo there is, like, the woman on the mud flap for the trucker, the kinda sexy
Huh,
silhouette, and so it's clearly Dolly because of the hair, and she's holding a
right.
microphone, so they have a lot of, like, the outfits or the T-shirts with that logo, but they have live music too, which is incredible,
I thought
and
that was amazing at a truck stop. Yeah.
no. And so they have it on weekends, but they're expanding it, and they're really good. I mean, they're getting a lot of people from Nashville coming down, and down in Alabama and a variety. They start off with country, but now they're doing bluegrass and gospel and, like, all sorts. So they're really it's becoming a destination, whether you need gas or not. You just wanna go hang out there, which I did for
Right.
19 hours.
Wow.
So
So beyond the truck stop, you're kind of in the middle of, I don't wanna say the middle of nowhere, but in a very remote area where there is there much else in that area?
there's a McDonald's, no, I didn't see anything. I
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of cornfields, it's a lot of agriculture, but there
But
isn't much.
people are coming down just for this truck stop,
Yeah,
or rest stop.
a family, a group of friends, girlfriends who drove 4 hours from Memphis because they wanted the cinnamon bread, which is only sold in Dollywood, and now it's sold at the rest stop, so it's the only place to get it.
Oh my
Dolly now has a
goodness.
line of coffee called A Cup of Ambition, only sold
Perfect.
at the rest area. Like, she's just the
Wow.
queen of, like, doing it
Yeah.
right. So,
And
it just
but
was
she's also taking care of the truckers. I love this. So tell me about the trucker facilities there.
I hung out in the trucker facilities. They had, like, really nice lounge chairs, felt almost like the Twiliner, the overnight bus, really comfy chairs, really quiet lounge with TVs put on mute, and they had laundry, and they had washer dryer, and they had a lot of bar areas, and I met a lot of truckers, just kinda hanging out, having a beer, saying this is their favorite spot. That
Huh,
they just love.
interesting.
They named
Yeah.
one other in Montana that has nothing to do with Dolly, and so now I guess I gotta go there, but they said this place was just so wonderful, that it was
And
clean and
yeah, and the laundromat, I think, is the Wishy Washy,
yeah,
laundromat, which is where she met her husband, right?
yes. Yeah, everything
Yeah.
has meaning, like, you need some kind of, like, decoder ring because I would be like, "Oh, that's interesting," and they'd be like, "Well, let me tell you the story about Dolly." Like, everything it's so thoughtful, and
Yeah,
everything has meaning to it, and not in a, like, self-promotional way, like, it's just Dolly's an interesting person and individual,
sure.
uh, so
Well,
I
you've
learned a lot about and even after, like, all my years of covering Dolly, I'm always learning more about her.
well, you have been to all of the Dolly sites, so just briefly, what is your favorite one?
I think this one might be.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, it just felt I mean well, is that fair to say? Maybe because I just went to it, and I did
I
spend
don't
19
know.
years there. There was just something about, like, I love talking to the servers and the people coming in, and it was just everyone was exploring. It seems like at Dollywood, everyone kinda stays in their packs. Like, you talk a little
Uh-huh.
bit, but there's something about, being on the road, and you wanna hear where people are going to and coming from, and there's just more of a sense of camaraderie.
Now,
Um,
one of the questions in the comments, you didn't address this in the article, and I don't know if you know the answer, but it talked about how generous Dolly is. Dolly is just an amazing humanitarian. The amount of money she's given for really good projects of all sorts is amazing. Does any of the money from this truck stop go to that? Because you did have a couple of people complaining that prices were elevated there, that the food was more expensive, so were the T-shirts and things like that. Does any of the money go towards her good works? Do you know?
I don't know, I'd have to ask. I
Okay.
do know, obviously, this is going to a part of Tennessee that is struggling economically, and it's giving
Huh.
jobs, and
Uh-huh.
it's pouring some money into this town,
Right,
but I would have to find out if, like, a percentage is going to, her Imagination Library or all the other things that she supports. They
right.
did not advertise it. There was not a big sign, "Thank you for supporting this. Your money is going toward this."
Sure.
Um,
Interesting. Well, it's pretty new. That
yeah,
may be something that's down the road. They probably have to make back their initial investment, I'm thinking,
yes, and they
especially
do.
since she did it with a partner too.
Correct. Yeah, and they do want to franchise it. They do wanna you could say they're taking on the chipmunk, I don't know, but they do want to spread it around the country and then have each one kinda unique to that region of the US, including with the music and things of that sort, but still being all about Dolly.
Right.
So,
Wow.
if this one does well, we could be seeing McDonald's, Buc-ee's, and Dolly.
Wow. Well, I would be up for that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. That's great.
I think so.
Well,
It's good to get her in the mix.
yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's always such a delight to speak with you, to read you, to be in your
Same.
presence. Thank you so, so much, Andrea, for
Thank you
appearing
for
on the
having
Fromer
me.
Travel Show. My pleasure. And that is it for this week's show. I thank you, as always, so much for listening. If you like what you hear, if you like what you see, because we're now on YouTube and TikTok and all of those other platforms, won't you do me a solid and give us a 5-star review? Every little review helps a lot. Uh, all right, that's enough for that commercial. Thank you so much for listening. And to those who are traveling, may I wish you a hearty bon voyage.